Hello, amateurs, and welcome back to our Rugby World Cup series. And I've got Elko with me again today. Elko, how are you?
ATT, I am gutted, but rugby won.
Okay, we'll kick off with just what were your sort of overall thoughts about the whole weekend of this quarter-final weekend?
Oh my God, it was the best I've ever seen. Don't know how they're going to top it. Every game got better and better. Sunday night was a joke. It just, I, I couldn't breathe. I was wrecked watching the thing. No, I don't know what the players must have felt. It was just amazing. I think most people are aligned in saying that. I know there's a little bit of grumbles around some stuff I'm sure we'll get onto in terms of refereeing, but wow, the standard was just so high. It was amazing.
Yeah, just talking about those grumbles, actually, let's go into that a little bit now because it's a game of rugby. There's always going to be grey in some of the decisions that are made. And I think overall, across this weekend, I thought the standard of refereeing was really, really good. That's just my overall opinion. There's always going to be little bits you can pick, but I thought it was top standard this weekend.
Yeah, we've spoken about it before. I'm a firm believer in things even out. I guess as the treasure at the end of each game gets more and more and more, then the pressure becomes more, and then these things get looked at. Um, but I think you've just got to take it on the chin, and I think Farrell and Sexton did well. Treated it very well. I'm sure they were good at. I'm sure they'll have questions about a few things. Um, DuPont, I wasn't great after, and obviously upset. Look, the thing is that by its nature, the decisions are subjective. So a lot of decisions can be given either way, and you've just got to roll with the punches. And you've got to take the referee out of it. When we get onto the New Zealand Ireland game, we'll talk about scrums and what I think went wrong there. But you can't leave it up to the referee. You've got to take those decisions and paint the right pictures while you're playing. It's the only way of doing so. I think when it's black and white, that's where the issues come in, and that's why I believe TMOs are in there for a bit like VAR bar the other week. There are decisions that are black and white, and you can use the TMO to iron those things out. On the subjective stuff, you've just got to roll with the punches and hope that the referee is consistent. And I think, in my opinion, I thought, I mean, a lot of my friends at home in Ireland were sledging Barnes. I thought he was brilliant, frankly. And I think he was the same for both sides. You've just got to play with what's in front of you. So I think it's unfair. I think the referees have got a really tough job, and as I say, it's subjective. We all have opinions. The referee will have opinion right there and then. It's not black and white, but it certainly didn't. For me, it didn't ruin the games.
100% no.
The games were great.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's go through them.
Apart from Carl Dixon.
We'll kick off
Subjective.
starting in Marseille. It is Wales versus Argentina. Now, Wales got off to a great start here and dominated the first half an hour. And the only thing that was going wrong for them at that point was their shirt numbers kept falling off. But things soon changed. How did you see this game, Elko?
Yeah. So, were you at this one?
Yeah.
What was the atmosphere like? It's through the TV. It was incredible.
It was amazing. Argentinian fans are, I mean, I've said it before, they're my favourites by a million miles. They're just so enthusiastic, so full of joy, just bouncing. Yeah. The stadium was literally bouncing. It was amazing. Yeah.
It came through. Yeah, look, Wales had a cracking start. Great try by Bigger under the post with a little move that they tried before or set up the play or two plays before. Really, really clever to north inside through, and then Bigger does a great job following up. And I was thinking, oh, hello, Wales are up for this, and I'm not sure they took the crowd out of it, but there was a little bit of maybe, oh, what's going to happen then? And then the RGs came back into it. But it was, I mean, we called it before how good we thought Argentina were. And I think, their power and the way they never gave up. They didn't panic, which was kind of a theme for a few of the games this weekend. They didn't panic. knockout rugby and came back into it. I was just looking at some. I've become a bit of a stato, I know, and sometimes the stats tell a story and sometimes they don't. But Argentina kicked the ball for 1,384 meters, which is,
Holy
I don't know if that's
smokes.
a mistake. I don't know if that's a mistake, but unbelievable. No other team got anywhere near that. But yeah, I think that their set piece was 100% on both scrums and lineouts. Wales were just below that, around the 80% mark. But yeah, what did you think of? So again, we'll go back into it, but just interesting, the Tompkins getting hit. There's a
Hmm.
lot of chat about that. What were your thoughts on that?
I've got to say, this was something that, because it went to the TMO and because they took so much time over it, it was something we could see quite clearly in the stadium. We
Yeah,
saw a lot of replays. And my initial reaction was, it's an accident. It should just be play on. That's my opinion. What I thought the referee was going to do might have been slightly different. But
yeah,
my thoughts were that there's nothing in it. There's nothing in it. It's an accidental arm clip in the face. And I
yeah.
thought we got it spot on. Yeah.
Presumably, you could you hear what the referee mic of the incident? No, nothing like that. Okay,
No, nothing.
because
No, we just see the replays.
the
Yeah.
obviously the thing was that he'd shouted release, so he'd let go of the guy as the player comes into clear.
Right.
So it was, the timing was just, so I think the way he explained it, I thought was really, really good, to be fair. But I was just wondering what it was like in the ground. I mean, I can understand the frustration. Like, the visuals aren't great for the game, and that's, I think, what World Rugby were trying to stamp out over the last 2 years. And basically, it was, anytime anyone gets hit in the face, it is a penalty minimum. But I think that's the lens that people are looking at, are like, we're a bit confused here, sort of thing. But if the referee, explains it at the time, then fair play. It is what it is. He explained it well.
Yeah, and this is
Um,
where I think referees need to have some autonomy. They need to be able to make calls like this, I think. And I was happy that it happened that way, and hopefully that's the way things will continue in the future, and the
yeah,
referees will have more control of that stuff.
yeah. As long as it's consistent, I think that's fine. Um, yeah. So big lead by Wales. Argentina come in, and then they were just banging at each other. Two heavyweights going at it. Wales, I thought, looked in control, and I thought they were going to come back and get something. Dyer comes on, makes an amazing break. That the next ruck sets up Zamet to go in the corner, and he's just the wrong side of the flagpole, literally. Unfortunate. And then I think the big turning point was Bigger going off. Costello comes in. They're behind. They need to score. They're forcing it on the halfway line, and cheeky old boy Sanchez, that was like, do or die. If he misses it, Wales are scoring. He gets the intercept. Costello pops it up on a kind of loopy pass, and he's under the post. I was like, oh no! And that was kind of pretty much the nail in the coffin, unfortunately, for Wales. But I think Argentina deserved, probably on the, well, that's not fair. I think both teams deserved to win, as all the quarterfinals were. They just edged it with great play.
Yeah, I'd say there's a couple of things there. I'd say the Luis Rizamet in the corner, the tackle for Moroni was unbelievable. Like, he got
Unbelievable.
everything in the way. Quite often you see in that situation players try and push the guy into touch, and Moroni just like committed whole body and got in front of him, which was incredible. On the Sanchez intercept, like, he came from nowhere. Like, he came from a slightly funny angle, which is why I
Yeah,
think he got away with it. Like, normally you're sort of looking for that kind of thing, people coming from the outside. He almost came from the inside to
yeah.
intercept him, which, yeah, it was amazing.
He knew he. I think it was. I think that's one from the analysis.
Mm.
I think he'd seen something where they do this play when they need to score, because or whatever, on this part of the pitch, whatever. And it was really weird. He kind of he kind of snuck in. I think he was quite surprised as well, in one way. But his little
The
old
ball's just
legs got
waiting
him,
there for him,
carried
isn't
him
it?
over. It was a bit like, Costello popped it up for him. it, was,
Yeah.
it was It was weird, but
Yeah,
them the breaks.
and yeah, the only other thing I wanted to say on this game was Wales were in control, and Argentina had only just started chipping away at the scoreboard. It was 10-3 basically on half time, and then Josh Adams did that ridiculous cheap shot after the ball had
Oh,
already been knocked on by Argentina, which made it
yeah,
10-6. Not only that, it created a bit of a fracas, which probably just raised Argentinian spirits and temperatures and all of that kind of stuff. To go into half time and then be only 4 points down, I think that was a real turning point and just a dull bit of play.
yeah, very silly. Nearly got missed as well. At the time, the TMO didn't come in for quite a bit. They were looking at the wrong. They were looking at the afters with what's Lavanini, Lavanini,
Yeah.
because he's always involved in everything. By the way, I don't know if you saw my tweet. Have you ever seen him pass the ball?
I don't think you can.
Honestly, I've never seen a guy like he just literally looks around and goes "Nope," straight on. It's very effective, but Jesus, yeah. But yeah, really dull TT. I think Adams will have nightmares about that because it was a turning point, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
And
think
when you
so. I
have
think
sort
it's a
of
real keeper.
when you have some of the RGs who have been there, seen it, done it, they were stoking that and loved it. So yeah, I think that was a big turning point, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, sad for Wales. Well done, Argentina.
Yeah,
Into a semi-final from Group D. Uh, let's move on to the next game. The evening kickoff in Paris, Ireland versus New Zealand, which Ireland were big favourites, really.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it was a hell of a start from New Zealand. I think they get into a 13-0 lead.
13-0
And
for
then
about
Ireland.
one kickoff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Absolutely. So just setting the tone at the start of this game or towards the start of this game, and somebody went on to have possibly his best ever game for the All Blacks was Sam Cane. His tackle on
Yeah.
Doris from that line out, which led to a turnover, was a statement piece, really, I think.
Yeah, I've literally got his first name on my sheet. I thought he look, there was a lot of pressure on there. His form hasn't been great. He had the shithousery from Omani on the tour down there. And he'd a point to prove, and it was clear him and Surveyor were unbelievable. And I think it was a game that there was mini battles all over the place. So I think in terms of the back row battle and the way that Barnes was refereeing, they won that battle for sure. In my opinion, I thought Van der Vlier was off it a little bit, just slightly, and it had unfortunately Joe Smith written all over it. The intensity at the breakdown was just unbelievable. They very much did to us what we've been doing to other teams. And at the start, I was that first sort of 10 minutes, I was like, oh no, what's going on? Because we hadn't any possession. We just kick off Porter, silly mistake, arousal curve, I think, on that one. From tries to clearly off his feet, tries to flick it back. Then there was a scrum again. He gets penalised. You're thinking, oh my god, we had no ball. And then they suck a punches in the top left hand corner, and then it was like, oh my god, we're in big trouble here. And I think we spoke about before, what New Zealand team are we going to see? Because we know when they click, they're just so good. And I think it's great credit to Ireland that they didn't panic and they fought back and got back into the game.
Yeah, I completely agree. And as you kind of half mentioned before, that was with the assistance of New Zealand from that kickoff, who did something as stupid as I've ever seen any New Zealander do, just doing some blocking straight from the kickoff. It's an absolute coach killer, just getting Ireland back in the game straight away for no real reason.
Yeah, and it's one of those where, listen, the blocking goes on, but they know that what the referees have said all along is if you look over your shoulder, you're going to get pinned. So you can run a blocking line, but you just don't look over your shoulder. And from a kickoff, it's easy. I thought Sexton's kickoffs were very good. He'd enough practice anyway, but I thought his kickoffs were excellent. But yeah, there was a few things going on. So I saw your retweet of Alex Corbuzero's analysis of the scrums, and I thought it was excellent, really, really good. If anyone hasn't seen it, have a look. Um, and I there's part of me that thinks that I don't know whether New Zealand had in previous games sort of highlighted this, or they knew Barnes was going to go after him for that. I don't know because, and we'll never know. I'll say why in a second. But it's from I don't know what you think. You're the expert in this. I thought sometimes Porter had him on toast, um, but they just they were so clever to show a picture and all go at the same time that the ref gave the penalty against Ireland, which is fine, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's subjective. It's his opinion, but you've got to change it on the pitch. And the biggest thing for me was that we never had a scrum in the whole game, not one scrum. Ireland had zero scrums, I'd love to know your opinion on this, TT. I was thinking of you on like when the opposition team is doing stuff to you, it you need your ball to show you're the dominant pack or can be the dominant pack because you've got control. You know when the ball's coming in, you can time your push, and we never got that opportunity. And looking at Sunday night, which we'll get onto, maybe we should have taken a scrum from a mark at some stage to show that actually we could be dominant because I'm sure we could have been, but we never got that chance and we weren't streetwise enough to change it up.
Yeah, what a rarity in the game. New Zealand zero handling errors that lead into scrums. So, yeah, what are you going to do? No, I completely agree. You do. Yeah, when you've got the ball in, you've got it at the back of your scrum, you're in control of what you want to be doing. You've got that opportunity then. Just to reiterate what you said about the Alex Corby-Sierra thing, if you watch that little clip, it's only about 90 seconds long, I think. And he talks about two scrums. And there's so much detail on either side of each scrum about everything that every individual player is doing. And the referee's got to try and make a decision on that whole thing just with one viewing in live. So just to give you an idea of how difficult it is to actually understand, I really recommend going and watching that clip because I thought it was outstanding. Yeah. So it's difficult. You know, you've got to make those calls based on what you're seeing, and like you say, it's subjective. But it's very difficult, and quite often people who know a lot about it will disagree as well. So, you know, what are you going to do?
I thought his point on the both loose heads placements of their arms, of their outside arms, was absolutely key. You can see that Porter has his elbow pointing down, and the New Zealand loose head makes a point of keeping his arm up the whole time. And I think, again, I don't know whether it was something that they knew about Barnes or they'd spoken to. I don't know what access. Maybe just before the game, maybe they said something. But it's brilliant bit of analysis. It's really clever.
Yeah, I mean this was a unbelievable game though. That the whole thing, it just was nip and tuck, back and forth. New Zealand just sort of kept ahead mostly, didn't they? You know, just to try ahead a lot of the time. I mean, the Ireland tries, I thought they were both really good finishes, but I think if you're on the defensive side of that, you might think, you know, you might feel they were a little bit soft. You know, there was Aki just chopped back in and then seemed to have a relatively easy route to the line. Gibson Park, you know, 5 meters out, you know, you shouldn't really be scoring from there as a scrum half. But yeah, it kept them in the game for sure.
Yeah, and that was a frustrating thing. I mean, I was on to Harty in Dublin, and you know, we were sending voice notes to each other during the game, and obviously that first period. And mine, I haven't had the wherewithal to watch the game again. I will do, but not just yet. But it felt to me that when we had the ball, we were making yards and yards and yards, but they did what we've been doing to teams. It was a big black sponge versus a big green sponge. They were letting us kind of come at us, soft defense, and which meant that on hard lines we were making some really good. Look, Keenan made a couple of really good strong runs, which we nearly scored off. Obviously Bundy, and part of me, there's a part of me that thinks, did we get suckered into this ball and play thing from Foster a few weeks ago? Because the ball and play time was right up there. We had 59% of possession. How do we lose? 55% of territory. We made 633 meters, but they suckered us. And I think the really, and one of the reasons why I think that is, obviously they had 2 yellow cards. One for Aaron Smith, which I thought was harsh versus Farrell on Sunday, but anyway, that it is what it is. And then their hooker gets sin binned. And the reason why I bring up that ball and play time and what like we never we didn't kick the ball out once. They didn't have one line out when he was off the pitch. We kept doing our thing because we wanted to keep in my opinion, we wanted to keep the ball in play. So I think we had a no, I don't think we did it because of Foster, but I think there was an element of we're gonna beat them and we're gonna beat them playing our game. And I just wonder, was there times where Johnny could have taken some points rather than go for the corner? Also hindsight. I mean, look, we were still in it to the very, very bitter end, and nearly scored. But I think the bad thing for me was some of the, and Johnny said this, was how easy they cut us apart at times for their tries. Again, Joe Smith DNA on quite a few of them, and it they sucker punched us. They didn't have to work hard for those tries, whereas we had to work so hard. We had to keep phase after phase after phase, and then just about get it or get turned over. And I think it was psychologically quite difficult, but we stayed in the fight. And up until the end, I thought we were going to do it, but Wayne Barnes is a bastard. No, I'm joking. After all I've said, no, I'm joking. It was, you take the referee out of it. The phase after phase after phase. There's an argument that who was it? Whitelock he made the tackle and then did the turnover and didn't take him out of the game. We missed the clean. We weren't strong enough on the clean. If we had been, we would have recycled the ball. You got to take these things out of the referee's hands.
Yeah, you mentioned the held up there, the nearly scored from the maul. It was a brilliant maul.
Oh God, that one.
Now, as a former hooker yourself, what do you make of Kelleher's contribution to that?
He went too early.
How did you see it?
He went too early.
Do you think?
I think he went too early. I think he panicked. I think he needed to stay in right rather than go out himself. It was an amazing bit of play from Barrett. My God, but it's very uncharacteristic. It's one of those pressure moments where has he just gone slightly off piste in terms of. I mean, if it was me, I would have broke early and scored in the corner, obviously. No, I just think he needs to burrow in a little bit more, or someone. I think our 9 was there. Maybe could have just helped a little bit, but it just seemed he went a little bit early, split second.
Yeah, I rewatched it today actually because a lot of people have been saying that, and I was thinking, it's not always as obvious. I'm not sure he did go too early. I think it rotated late, really quickly, and it would have been very difficult for him to stay in there. Somebody got taken out. Somebody else was still on their feet, and I think he almost had no option but to try and go for it. Again, that it's again slightly subjective, and he would probably score that 99 times out of 100 anyway. It was just phenomenal defense from Geordie Barrett, I think.
Unbelievable strength to keep him there. So could he have? What would you have done if you were him? Could he have released?
I think I'd have done exactly the same.
Right. Okay.
I don't know. I don't think so. It all happened so quickly. Like it really rotated fast. That last moment. I'm not sure he could have done too much else, in my opinion.
Did it rotate because they collapsed it, or?
It's clutching.
I'm clutching at straws here, boyo.
Now then, 37 phases at the end of the game. Talk to me about your emotions during those 37 phases.
Well, it was weird. Maybe this is what was wrong. I was really calm. Like normally, I'm very, very nervous supporter because there's nothing you can do. I was really calm, like for most of it. By the first 10 minutes, and then seeing us score. I was really calm. And I was like, "We're going to do this. We're going to do this." I was convinced we were going to score. It was amazing to watch. The level of skill under pressure. And that's why it's so good in your goaling. I'm sure the guys on the pitch thought they were gonna score. It was something was going to happen. It was, the problem was that they were ahead by more than 3, and it was set up for. If it had been a 3 or a 2.1 point gap, then Johnny could have stepped up and done some magic, and we could go into extra time or whatever. But the Kiwis had done the business. You know, they pulled away, very importantly, and it meant they could give away penalties and risk going for stuff, which was their mindset anyway for the whole game, which was incredible. But yeah, I was eerily calm, and then the whistle went, and I was like, oh, it was just gutting. I mean, I didn't get to bed till 3. I was chatting to people at home and just sort of going through it.
Yeah,
We didn't. The annoying thing for an Irish fan, not the annoying thing, but for an Irish fan, the outside will give us grief, and fair enough. We've been number one for a while, and probably a lot of people deserve a bit of grief. You're up there for that long, you get shot down. But what would have been worse, sort of doing what we did and losing in that manner, or not turning up and choking and getting humped like we did 4 years ago? It's so, yeah. Which one do you prefer? Neither, but they conducted themselves, I thought, really, really well, and played in, up until the time, probably the best quarterfinal there has been ever in terms of standard, up until 24 hours
yeah,
later.
yeah. It was a hell of a game, and well done, New Zealand. I felt gutted for you and for
Yeah,
Ireland, but this is the way
that
things
is
are, sadly.
that is what it
Right,
is,
let's
and
move on
New
to
Zealand deserve it.
yeah. Let's move on to Sunday. England versus Fiji. I was in the stadium again for this one.
Oh,
All
were
the
you?
neutrals,
Excellent.
yeah, all the neutrals, all
Was
the
it,
French, everybody else was supporting Fiji. But there was a decent number of England fans there as well. Another cracking atmosphere.
was that you getting dumped on your head by the guy dressed up as Napoleon?
That was not me. No, it's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? Dear me. Never mind.
Very weird.
Now, yeah, just being in the stadium, like the first thing that struck out to me, and it's people talk about it obviously, but when you're there, you feel it, and that is how thunderous the Fijians were running the ball up. There was very little, attempt at sidesteps when there was traffic, and they were just piling into England, and it was terrifying at times, to be honest.
Yeah, it came across on TV as well. I mean, the physicality was just immense, and all the way across the pitch. It's like there's no little 9 or a little 15. They're all big boys, and putting enormous pressure on. But yeah, you could feel that off the pitch as well. I'm presuming, like, if you're I don't know where you're sat, but I know sort of some of the pundits have been saying that you can hear the hits when you're close to the sideline. Scary stuff.
Yeah, and Marcus Smith got a couple of one-on-ones with Semi Radjanda, who made no attempt to run round him whatsoever. And fair play to Smith; he's brave and he hits
Yeah.
he hits really hard. And he was a bit of a speed bump, but he definitely did the job.
Oh, listen, lesser men would have broken their collarbones and all sorts. I mean, he got up, he got bloodied, but he cracked on. I thought he was superb, to be fair. I mean, I don't know what he's done in playing Bristol to annoy him so much, but you're right. He not once did he think about doing anything else except boshing him. It's brutal.
Yeah. Now, overall, it felt certainly in the stadium that England. I was really impressed with their like variation in the way they played and the accuracy, especially early on. Like they've been so obvious to play against for such a long time that just changing the side of attack a couple of times that Farrell did, some inventive kicks rather than just the crossfield bomb. I thought it was a step up in terms of performance and variation, and it got England into quite a comfortable position really at 24-10. Um,
Oh yeah.
and at that point, I said to my brother, who was sat next to me, I said, "This is a real crucial moment in the game now. Like this is where it's going to be won or lost." And England immediately gave away a penalty and then 2 tries to make it 24 all within about 5 minutes. Um,
It's all their
yeah,
fault.
but again though, England somehow got a grip of the game because like the feeling in the stadium, the momentum of the game, it was all Fiji at that point. But England somehow got a hold of it again, got the drop goal, got another penalty, and managed to cling on.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think you're right. I think England have started now to. I'm positive this was the plan all along for a number of reasons. Borthwick is such a stato, and I know he analyzes the opposition. And I presume he analyzes his own team to think about what are the opposition going to do to defend us or attack us. And I think we're starting to see some little bolt-ons to what we know is a fairly efficient way of playing. And through that simple variations, using different players that they haven't been using in the past. And scored 2 magic tries, really, really good, well worked. Great to see Manu on the end of one. I thought he was superb. And Marchant with the other, and I think he's a super player as well. And fair play, he's been pretty bullish after in his press conferences, and rightfully so. Everyone did write them off. Bar us, we have always said we think they're going to go far. And yeah, he's backing his players, and I think there's a massive siege mentality there. I think it's they almost want to be written off, that they're using it as fuel, and that's awesome as well. I think Marler had some fun in the press conference last week. That was so awkward. But that's him all over. Yeah, and they were. I thought they were home and hosed, to be honest. What was the point you were talking about, by the way? That this is a crucial turning point. Was it just
Well,
after
it was
England
just on
scored?
no, it was on the hour mark. Basically, we were ahead. We were
Right,
24-10 ahead, and and it was just that time of the game, that scoreline, that time of the game. If we could just control the next 5 minutes, maybe get another score, then it would probably you'd just see it out. And I think it was just shortly after that we had the 5 meter line out, which then got collapsed, and then Genge gave away the penalty for some chat or something or other. And it was that moment when things just started changing.
Oh yes, he wouldn't let go of the guy's jersey. I don't know who it was.
I think it was a scrum half.
Yeah, might have been. Yeah, he was whacking him. There was a few. I mean, that will annoy Borthwick, I think, because there was a few moments in the game where England gave talking about fuel and stuff, gave the Fijians some fuel. You don't fight with these boys. We know we've a good friend of ours who you don't fight with, especially if he's had a drink. But he when Courtney got absolutely smashed into touch, but then he kicked off, and then it's like, what are you doing? And then Curry does the same with their 7, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, don't react to these guys. And they kind of got sucked into it, and I can imagine the crowd must have been like, go on then, let's have it. But they, and it's not that Fiji are a fighting team. That's not what I'm saying. Obviously but they can use that as fuel, because they took it to them in rolling mauls, and like really went for England, not just in the back line. It was a total game. But how they came back was just, I mean, I was screaming at the TV again. How can this weekend keep getting better and better? And then obviously, what was it, 24 all, was it? Or
Yeah,
20, was it 24? And then just absolutely class from Farrell, and Danny Kerr, just hidden. I didn't even pick it up. I don't know if you could see it in how when he dropped back into the pocket, but it seemed, you were probably watching it, where it seemed to catch Fiji by surprise, and it was excellently executed, and a great strike as well.
Yeah, the only other thing I want to highlight from this game was Ben Earl, who was phenomenal. Like, just his stats are off the charts, really, and it was very apparent in the stadium that he was everywhere. Yeah,
that break he made at the end was like playing Jonah Lomu on PlayStation. He just went, and then even when he got hit at the end, the guy kind of bounced him forward, and I thought he was going to bounce and go. I mean, the pace of the man, he is. I mean, as annoying as he is when he celebrates, it does get on my wick. I'm not going to lie. He is exceptional, and I know well from people I know who work in Saracens. He's an absolute gent, and a guy that you'd want in your team. I hope he has another cracker next week. It's going to be that's going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's move on to the last game of the weekend.
Can we just, sorry, no, I just want to ask you a question, sorry, because we brought it up earlier. Farrell's knock on, deliberate or not, and should it have been a yellow?
I've got to say, my first reaction in the stadium was wrong. I thought he was just kind of got in a wrong position and it had hit his hand. I think that was wrong. I think he probably should have been yellow carded. Yeah,
Yeah, I
based
think he
on
knew what he was doing.
consistency across decisions. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. In
yeah.
hindsight,
I
I
think
think that's true as well. Yeah,
If Aaron Smith gets one for a little flick on his finger, then I think
mm.
Farrell probably needs. I think he knew what he was doing. He hit it really well, but then the breaks, then the breaks.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, final game of the weekend: France South Africa. France. Well, Marseille was absolutely jumping ahead of this one. France fans absolutely everywhere. Incredible atmosphere. And they started amazingly well with a real frenetic pace to the game, scored some great tries. Whew, Cyril Bay, what a man. Loose head prop scoring 2 tries in a quarter final. I love that. But South
That one in
Africa
the corner.
kept scoring. Yeah. So how did you see this game, Elko? How do you see it?
As a guy in his mid 40s, sort of thing, you think you've seen it all, and how can you possibly learn new things? But I was learning new things. It was just the levels of accuracy, power, work rate. It's just off the scale. It was brilliant, and yeah, France were swarming, and it almost felt like a bit like the night before. God, they're just gonna absolutely wipe the floor. But then South Africa are so street smart, so clever. Um, they just Razzie again, someone who I love and I hate at the same time. He's none of this stuff happens by accident. They know what they're doing. They're so clever. Loads of stuff about the HIAs going on. Don't know if you've heard any rumblings over there about that, but there's lots of chat around that. Around they weren't HIAs, they were arresting the players. They were basically doing rolling
Oh,
subs in the
really?
second half. Oh yeah, yeah. There's lots of rumblings about that. Whether it gets looked into, I don't know how you prove it. You can't. There's no way. The only time it won't work is if someone goes off and fails their test, which I know I know plenty of people do when they're not concussed. Anyway, but we spoke about earlier with the taking the mark and then choosing a scrum. I mean, that it was well, according to Nearm, it was pre-planned. So these guys are just unbelievable thinkers. But the game just ebbed and flowed. It was amazing to watch. It was like watching an under 11s sort of sevens just go, you score, we score, you score, we score, and but at the same time, it wasn't open game. It was tight, and there wasn't lots of room. These breaks happen because of unbelievable play or unbelievable pressure, whether it's Elsabeth all over Dupont to force an error or whatever it is. It's these things are created. It was just awesome to watch. I was literally breathless at half time. I just couldn't believe what I
Mm.
was seeing. It was
Yeah,
an
6
amazing
tries
first
after
half.
half an hour. 6 tries after half an hour is ridiculous in a game like this. And I
No,
just felt for France really because it felt like they scored all their tries through positive attack, and South Africa
yeah,
got all their tries from like kick chase and
yeah,
a
turnover,
turnover,
yeah,
which then got
yeah,
kick through and another try.
yeah,
And they were they were scoring every time they got a scrap of possession, a dirty scrap of possession. They got a try from it, and it just didn't feel unfair, but
ruthless.
it just felt like it wasn't balanced in terms of how they were getting
Yeah,
their points.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, poor France in that respect. And then the other thing I thought they did wrong was subbing Cyril Bay when he's on a hat trick. Who subs a prop when he's on a hat trick?
Unbelievable. I agree with you. Who would do that? Yeah, I don't know whether was he carrying his calf. I don't know. Also, I think a lot of because with the GPS now and everything else, they've got certain markers, and they kind of I think the S&Cs go right. You need to pull these guys off, and I don't think the 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 props on the bench for France are as strong as some other international teams, both in terms of scrum and play. We saw that at the end. I think it was the sub loose head. Was it that got ripped by Faf? Um, so yeah, I think it was a big call to take him off. It was fairly early as well, wasn't it? And he might have got his hat trick. But absolute scorcher. So one of the things that was brought up after this was the block down by Colby for the conversion. Um, Thoughts?
I haven't seen an angle where you can really tell. It's such a long way away, like, to be able to
Yeah.
see. And the kind of the definition of when a run-up started is also a little bit woolly. Like, it's got this shoulder movement, hasn't he, which is technically the start of when he starts moving, or the
Yeah.
start of his movement. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
think
it's what
I don't
I was kind of what I was alluding to earlier about the black and white thing, and I am really surprised that France didn't go wild after that and say, whoa, 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 you need to check that. They didn't. They just ran back. No one did. I don't think the players. I think the players must have been in a circle and didn't see, and they've just heard and gone, oh, he's blocked it. But I think the captain should have gone, you need to check that. Now, my understanding of the law is that anytime the kicker, so you have your routine, and then if you go still, your next movement is the key for them to run and block it. And Colby, I know, played with your man at Toulon, I think, and
yeah,
knows his,
Ramos.
and obviously must have analysed it. I would say he was offside, just. However, he anticipated when he was going to start his run. I'd say he was a meter. There's a really good wide angle that's on Twitter at the moment, and I think, but my rugby side says he still had to sprint his arse off to get there and have the angle of where he was to get there. So I just think you have to back it. But I am surprised that France didn't make more of a meal of it to see if the TMO could see if he'd slightly began his run early. Just a thought.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's so unorthodox that you so rarely see that it's not.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't necessarily, immediately think of that in the moment. I don't think.
No.
But yeah, a rarity, especially from out wide like that. Now, just one other player that I think needs talking about is Malvaca, the French hooker, who was absolutely everywhere. So many involvements in the game with the ball in hand. I thought he was absolutely outstanding.
Did he remind you of me?
No.
No way, nothing like him. Yeah, he was absolutely outstanding. Like he was a man on a mission. He was making breaks, the offloads. He was superb. I think all the teams of the weekend had one standout performer, or two standout performers. I think I'll probably pick him out for France, Earl for England. That really, didn't let the moment pass them by, didn't let the occasion pass them by, went out and just went for it. It was awesome to watch. He was class.
Yeah. One other thing that I'd like to get your opinion on as well. 67 minutes. South Africa is 6 points down, and they've got a 5-minute penalty, and they go for a tap penalty. Obviously, they could have got the 3 points and been back within 3 points very easily. What do you think about that as a tactical choice? 13 minutes to go, 6 points down.
It's ballsy, but I don't think it's. They took a while to talk about it, didn't they? I think they'd had a line out before and it was a little bit scrappy. Um, the sort of stuff I've heard about why teams have started suddenly to do more taps now is because you just, again, you take, particularly if you're having a tough time at a scrum or something, you take jeopardy out of it, you take a referee's opinion out of it, and you're bound to keep the ball, and you're probably going to get to a point where you would have anyway. Um, in terms of the timing, it is ballsy to go for, but maybe these guys sniff blood. The South Africa are very good for reading the game as a group and kind of understanding both how they feel, and how the had I think Jalibert just made that mistake as well, where he kind of kicked, and I think that was that similar time? I can't remember, but I just think momentum suddenly was really against the French. Maybe they could feel it in the crowd as well. It was time that they could put it to bed, and they did.
Yeah, ballsy though. I think you're right, and I think they recognise they only get so many good attacking start points like that in a game, and if they were going to end up winning it, then they'll probably have to take one of those. And if they've got it there, they might not get another one, so they need to go for it now. Is my read of it anyway? But yeah,
Yeah,
still a big call.
massive goal. Don't die
Cool. If you
wondering, right? It's
Yeah, have you got anything else on this game, Alco?
um. God, I'm kind of exhausted talking about it. It's like you just thinking back, and there's so much stuff we've missed loads, but you can't like. It was the greatest game of rugby I've ever seen, bar none. And I thought the night before was the greatest. It was just, it had everything, and you know, I guess the big question now moving into next week, which we'll discuss in the next ep, but it's about what's this taken out of all the teams, because Jesus, you know, that how do you get back up for games next week? Amazing performance by all the
Yeah,
teams.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only wrong thing about this result was it completely ruined our Sunday night. Marseille just became desolate. Literally, all the
Oh
French people went
no.
home almost immediately, which left just like pockets of English, Welsh, and Argentinians, you know, enjoying the rest of the night. But and
Well,
that's a problem. That's a
yeah,
kind of an issue, not an issue, but it's going to affect the rest of the tournament as well. You know,
massively.
the atmosphere
Yeah,
will
yeah,
just be a little bit less, and yeah, it's going to be a bit difficult in that
hugely.
respect now.
But
Mm.
well, yeah, I'm imagining my French stereotype of they're not gonna be bothered now, and also so you've also got Ireland gone as well. So presumably there's going to be tickets, loads of tickets available for next week. I would have thought.
Yeah, I've already heard, but the official resale site is just ticking upwards with tickets back on sale.
Oh no.
So yeah,
Okay.
we'll see. Anyway, we'll end this one here. People listening at home, what do you think? Did we get everything right? Was there real crucial things that we missed, or you think you disagree with? We'd love to hear your comments. We'll have a chat about it down there. And while you're there, give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe as well to make sure you don't miss the next one. Elko, thanks very much.
Cheers, TT.
And for you at home, get out and play.